Today, my guest was a chiropractor who had over $984,000 in debt, but was able to pay it off in just 39 months using a system called the Money Multiplier Method. We're going to hear about how he was able to break out of financial prison and how you can too. More details from my guest, Brent Kesler, coming up.
Welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing Podcast, your source for real-world strategies focused on creating long-term wealth, cash flow, and financial freedom through real estate. Through guidance, tips, and stories of highly successful real estate investors and thought leaders, we provide you the tools to succeed and to reach the lifestyle you always wanted. And now, your host, Dwaine Clarke.
Hello and welcome back to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing Show. This is your host, Dwaine Clarke, and today we have Brent Kesler. Brent is the founder of the Money Multiplier, a financial education company. Brent, thank you so much for joining us on the show, and how you doing, my friend?
Hey, Dwaine. Fantastic, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to share today.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to it. Yeah, I was kind of looking through your backstory, and as you can see there from my intro, is that how you was able to kind of go from a chiropractor to your that current financial positioning and able to become a millionaire at this point. Can you kind of walk us through your backstory? And I think it's very inspiring for people to hear about that.
Yeah, actually, absolutely. Well, again, Dwaine, as you said, I am a chiropractor. I no longer practice chiropractic anymore. I haven't since 2017. I sold my last office in 2017. I haven't actually been practicing myself since 2008. I had associates and other docs in my clinics. I had 5 clinics in the Kansas City area. And again, like I said, I sold my last one in 2017. My wife and I became empty nesters. I grew up in Florida, so I moved back to Florida, wanted to get out of the cold weather. But yeah, so actually I found myself as far as starting my career in the chiropractic profession. And obviously, I had to go to chiropractic school. So I came out with quite a bit of debt, student loan debt. As a matter of fact, at that time, the average chiropractor was coming out about $280,000 in student loan debt. And then when you come out, you got to go open up your practice. And then also you have a family, so you got to have a house and a car and all of that stuff. So anyway, I was at a chiropractic convention back in 2006. And I heard somebody speak on this concept. It's called the infinite banking concept, becoming your own banker. There's a book here called Becoming Your Own Banker by a guy named R. Nelson Nash from Birmingham, Alabama. Now, actually, we lost Nelson last year at age 87 years old. But anyway, I heard this concept, right? And I thought to myself, man, that looks really, really good. I mean, a good concept to build wealth. However, it looks too good to be true. Have you ever seen something like that where you see something and it looks really good, but it looks too good to be true? Well, that was me. So I left that conference. I left with this book and I brought it home and I put it on the shelf. I didn't touch it. I didn't read it. I forgot I had it. I go back to another chiropractic conference, Dwaine, about 2 years later, and about 10 or 12 of my colleagues are now at this conference that were at the one previously. And the only difference between them and me is they actually took action and they implemented this concept that we heard about in 2006, and I didn't. So anyway, they were just telling me about how they were building their wealth, paying off their debt, recapturing, recycling the money, all without having to work harder, change their cash flow, take any additional risk, or lose control. So I thought to myself, you know what? There has to be something to this. All right, there has to be some method just to this madness, because there's no way that 10 or 12 of my closest colleagues are lying to me. Maybe 1 or 2, but not 10 or 12, right? So I came home and I told my wife, I said, honey, we got to start implementing this process in our life. And at that time, it was February of 2008. And I added up all of my debt, all the third-party debt that I owed other people. And that number, Dwaine, was $984,711 that I had in debt. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, how on earth does a guy from Kansas get to be almost $1 million of debt. Because I know it buys a real small house if you're from somewhere like California, right? But in Kansas, it buys a lot. Well, here's how I was in that debt. I had my house that I lived in. I had my student loans. I had my chiropractic clinic. I also had a house on the Lake of the Ozarks between St. Louis and Kansas City. So if you have a house on the lake, you have to have a boat and a wave runner, don't you? I mean, you can't have a house on the lake without a boat and a wave runner. I'm also an airplane pilot. So as an airplane pilot, I had to have my own airplane. So it didn't take me a lot to become almost $1 million in debt. Well, the thing I did is I started this concept and I implemented this process, and I was able to pay off all of that debt, Dwaine, $984,711 of debt. I was able to pay that off in 39 months, 3 years and 3 months. Never had to work any harder, change my cash flow, take any additional risk, or lose control. All I did is I added one step in my financial life, and it completely changed my financial life forever.
And then let's dive into that. I know there's probably a lot of different elements and parts, but when people hear that huge number, and probably people can resonate all different, all over the country, no matter what part amount it is, 100,000, 10,000, whatever it is, and they want to get from underneath that. Can you kind of take us through that next step that you learned from those conferences that you finally implemented that make that change?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, I paid off that debt, and I was excited about this process. And at the time, I was my chiropractic coach and my mentor was a guy named Dr. Eric out of Temecula, California. And I was in his coaching program, right? I was using his tools and his systems to help build my chiropractic practice. Well, because I was doing a pretty good job with that, and I was so I had good, successful chiropractic clinics. Dr. Eric came to me and he asked me, he says, "Hey, Brent, do you think you can coach some of my members on the system of how to build as far as how to build the chiropractic practices?" And so I did, and I was having calls with members of his. And again, just because I'm talking to them about how to build wealth through the chiropractic office, right? How to run the practice. I had to talk about this banking concept that I was doing, because I can't talk to them about how to be successful in your chiropractic business in order to make money in the chiropractic business. Okay, so without telling them about this banking concept that I discovered, and I was able to pay this debt off. So I was telling different people about it anyway, right? So I became so passionate about this banking concept that I decided, hey, I want to teach people how to do that. I mean, yes, I love chiropractic, but I was more passionate about building my wealth through this infinite banking concept. So I decided to go out and get licensed, and now I could teach this concept to others. So that's what I did in early 2012. And ever since then, now what are we, 2021, right? So 9 years, I've been traveling around the country and I teach this concept, whether it's a live event, a virtual event, or a Zoom meeting. And so people, they hear about it and they ask me to come and speak to their group. So that's what I do now. I mean, all I do is I eat, live, and breathe this banking concept. So what I do now, Dwaine, is I teach people how to build wealth through their own debts and expenses that they already have. And so here's what I mean by that. So for example, if you have a car, for example, right? And again, Dwaine, I don't know how you bought your car, but I know you only bought it one of three ways. You either paid cash for it, you bank financed it, or you leased the car. Because I know you didn't steal it. So you bought it from one of those three ways. So the thing you had to do, Dwaine, is you had to take your money and you had to give it to the car dealer in order for them to give you the car. Mm-hmm. So they get the money and you get the car. Everybody walks away happy. The transaction is over. Well, because of implementing this banking concept, now, okay, the thing I do is I buy the car the exact same way. I take the money, I give it to the car dealer, they give me the car. So I have the car, they have the money. But now, okay, just with this process, I'm able to get all the money back for that car I just bought. So not only do I get the money back for the car, I also have the car. So what we're doing is we're turning every liability into an asset, and every depreciating asset into an appreciating asset, because now we're recapturing and we're recycling all of that money that's going out to other people. Now, Dwaine, are you wanting me to tell you the vehicle and the machine that we use to do that and how we build wealth through this machine?
Yeah, that was
Are you ready for it?
That's the next question. There is the nuts and bolts of how this thing works. So let's dive into that.
So are you ready for it? Because it's going to surprise you and a lot of your listeners, because you're going to say, no way, when I tell you what the machine is. Well, the machine that we're going to use to build wealth, we're going to use a whole life insurance policy in a mutual company that pays dividends. Now, I know what you're thinking and what the listeners are thinking. You're thinking, what? A life insurance policy? What in the heck does a whole life insurance policy have anything to do with me building my wealth? Why on earth would I ever want to use a life insurance policy? I know everything there is to know about life insurance. No, you don't. No, you don't. This is a specifically designed, specially engineered policy. It's not any life insurance policy that you can just go down and buy from your brother-in-law that sells life insurance. This is a specifically designed, specially engineered policy that has high immediate cash value. And when I say high immediate cash value, I mean within 30 days, you have cash value in the policy. Now, why are we going to use a life insurance policy to build wealth? Because, Dwaine, this is what the rich do. This is what the wealthy do. As a matter of fact, the number one purchasers of whole life insurance in the world are conventional banks. Conventional banks own more in whole life insurance than all of their land and their buildings combined. And since 2013, conventional banks have more than quadrupled the amount of whole life insurance policies they've purchased. Now, why on earth do you think that conventional banks buy so many life insurance policies? Is it because they're stupid, or they know something the rest of us don't know?
Exactly. Yeah, they know something.
Yes, they know something the rest of us don't know. So all I'm doing, Dwaine, is I'm going to mimic exactly what the wealthy do. Because see, this concept of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, the money multiplier method, it's not brand new. I didn't invent it. The guy that wrote this book, R. Nelson Nash, didn't invent it. It's been around for over 200 years. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Stanleys, the Barclays. This is how they built wealth and kept it in their family. This is how Walt Disney built Disneyland. This is how Ray Kroc funded McDonald's. This is how Pampered Chef got started before Warren Buffett bought Pampered Chef for $1.5 billion. Okay, our president-elect here that's coming up in the next week, Joe Biden. Joe Biden tells you he doesn't keep money in conventional banks. He stores his wealth in whole life insurance policies in mutual companies that pay dividends. The last time I checked, Joe Biden has a total of 6 life insurance policies, and that's how he builds and he stores his wealth. It doesn't matter if you love Biden or you hate Biden. You got to admire the guy's wealth and how he builds his wealth, right? So the concept isn't on trial. It's not being tested. It's been around for over 200 years. So we're just going to mimic and imitate what the wealthy do. So Dwaine, so anyway, there's a quote that I heard. Now, I don't know when he said it, but have you ever heard of a guy named Warren Buffett, right?
Yeah, I think I heard
Here's
of
what Warren Buffett said in October of 2008. And I think of this quote every day of my life. And what Warren Buffett says, he says, if poor people would just start doing what rich people do, they wouldn't be poor anymore. How much sense does that make? Because, Dwaine, we all have access to the same financial tools. Us and the super wealthy. Us and the super wealthy. We all have access to the same financial tools. The only difference between us and the super wealthy is they use the tools differently than we do. Now that I know how to play the game, now that I know how the wealthy are building their wealth, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just doing exactly what they've been doing for 200 plus years.
And as far as kind of like, why don't financial advisors suggest this? Why is this not mainstream? I mean, obviously the information is out there. You're obviously blessing us with this information, and more people is going to be more aware of it and come into this. But this is something that I recently started hearing back probably about a year ago more heavily as I started kind of getting more into my financial education. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, I think part of it is the case, and yeah, okay. So basically, you hit the nail right on the head. So the insurance companies and banks and stuff, they're not teaching people how to do this, right? I mean, this isn't what you learn by being an insurance agent. I mean, I'm an insurance agent in every state of the country. I'm a licensed producer. That's how I get paid, actually, is when somebody starts a policy. Hopefully they're going to do it through me, and then I get paid the commission from the insurance company. The same way when you go to your car insurance guy to buy car insurance from John Smith, the Allstate man, right? The check that you write is not to John Smith. You write the check to Allstate, and Allstate pays John Smith a commission. Well, that's how I get paid. As a matter of fact, a guy, so his name is Chris Naugle. He actually wrote the book that I wrote. This book came out about 9 months ago. It's called Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. So Chris and I wrote this book together. Chris is a client of mine. He's been a client of mine for several years. He lives in Buffalo, New York, very active in the real estate industry. He had a show on TV called Risky Builders on HGTV. He's again, all right, so like if you Google Chris Naugle, go look at him. I mean, he's got all kind of podcast information, real estate, banking, all of that. I mean, he's all out there, right? So Chris has been my client for several years. He was referred to me by another client that's very active in real estate that had TV shows in real estate from Salt Lake City, Utah. But okay, the point I'm trying to make, because I want to answer your question, Chris Naugle, actually before he met me, he was a financial advisor with a financial advisor with New York Life for 14 years. Chris came to me and he says, Brent, he says, nobody at New York Life ever taught any of this. We never learned any of this. Everything I learned about this concept was from you. So Chris did a little digging and he was like, well, why aren't they telling you? Because this is such a powerful vehicle that everybody should know. So why aren't the insurance companies talking about this? Why aren't the agents promoting it? And here's the reason. Because in order to design your policy this way, to where it has that high immediate cash value, the insurance agent has to take between a 60 and a 90% cut in their commission, and they're not willing to do it. Yeah. So even if you find somebody that understands the concept, they're very hesitant and skeptical to design your policy this way because they don't want to take the 60 to 90% cut in their commission. All I do all day long is take the 60 to 90% cut because this is how I design my own policies. I have 19 of these policies. I buy at least one policy every 12 to 18 months. I design my policy the same way I design yours. There's no secret sauce that I put on mine that I don't put on yours. So I think that's a big reason. And then also a lot of the insurance companies, like when you put money into the policy, and again, Dwaine, you've probably seen this, or maybe your listeners, are out there and they have whole life policies. But the thing is that they have no cash value for a long time. They have 0 in year 1, 0 in year 2, not much more in year 3. So it takes a long time to get that cash value, right? So people are thinking, well, that's not a good idea. I need to use my cash now, especially your audience in real estate. They want to be able to use their cash now because deals are coming, whether you're buying and holding, fixing and flipping, remodels, whatever it is, you want to keep that money in motion. You got to keep it going. So you don't want to park it somewhere and let it sit still. So Yeah, it's a completely different outside of the box concept. And I will tell you, Dwaine, I have almost 3,000 clients in every state of the country. 91% of my clients that start come back and they come back and do more. They do more policies and they do more premium. 91% of my clients that have been with me a year or longer come back and do more. 70% of those come back before the first year is even up because they see how efficient this works and how effective our team works with them. So
And
this is all we do. We eat, live, and breathe this.
and as far as kind of like since our core audience is real estate, and we're always trying to find ways to build wealth and invest and stuff. Can you just give us an example for the people who just don't get in? Like I said, also, further my continued education as far as like an example of utilizing this to, either buy an investment property or invest into like a syndication.
Absolutely. So let me give you a couple different things. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to give everybody access to our website, which is www.themoneymultiplier.com. And if you go to the website, themoneymultiplier.com, at the top of the homepage under resources, if you click on presentation, I actually outline in an hour and a half. It's right. I mean, yeah, it's an hour and a half, but remember, guys and gals, this is about your financial life. So you may have to spend an hour and a half reviewing the material. So what that means is you may have to turn off the football game. You may have to skip an episode. You may have to skip an episode of The Voice or The Bachelor, or not go to Bobby's soccer practice or Susie's piano lesson. So take the 90 minutes. Watch my presentation. I have it also broken down into 10 individual sections. I also have a downloadable attachment that goes with it. So I go through that in great detail on my website. Now, also, actually, I forgot your question. What was your question?
Yeah, can you kind of break this down in an example for people that's investing
into
in
real estate? Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, the policies can be used for any purchase, any liability, any asset that you're buying. You can buy cars, houses, bicycles, boats, your taxes, your charitable giving, airline tickets, groceries, a tank of gas, anything. There's no limit on what you can use the money for. In the real estate industry, people are exchanging money in real estate. Well, anytime you buy a property, right, whether it's going to be a fix and flip, a buy and hold, whether you're going to do it as a rental, a VRBO, an Airbnb, the money goes out to the other people and the money is gone forever, right? You get the property, they get the money. Well, when you do it through this system, you're not only getting the property, but you get the money back. I will tell you personally, I also, so the thing I do is I like real estate, but I don't necessarily like the property. Even though I have some real estate properties, what I really like is the loan. I like the mortgage. So I loan people money for those real estate purchases. For example, as we sit here today, Dwaine, I have $1,255,000 loaned out to 13 people in 18 different loans. Those people pay me back principal and interest, sometimes interest only. Well, when that money comes back to me, I can take that money because see, all those loans out, let's say 1.2 million, I put that money in my policy first, and then I went to get the money from the policy to make the real estate purchase. But when I did that, because I put the money in the policy first, the money is still inside of my policy. It's still growing and compounding at that guaranteed tax-free growth rate plus dividend, which the guaranteed growth rate tax-free is 4% now. The dividend makes it higher. So even though I spent money on the real estate, or even though I loaned out money to someone else, that money is coming back to me, but that money never left my family. So I'm still earning the 4% plus on that money. Plus I'm earning the 8, 10, 12% or whatever it is that I loaned the money out on that. As far as on that transaction. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah. So it's just to kind of break down. So kind of like a flow chart. If I have $100,000, I put it into this policy, then I'm able to then write that a check out to somebody else or whatever you're purchasing, but still your paper value still is continue to go up on a, based off of that, expected return.
Absolutely. And so the way I just described it is how I loan people money. Now I also have properties, right? I have I have like a couple properties up in Island Park, Idaho, which it kind of sits on the border of Montana, Wyoming, Idaho. Those are vacation rentals, VRBOs. If you go Google some of the best snowmobiling, for people that like to snowmobile, Island Park, Idaho comes up. It's 20 minutes out of the gate of West Yellowstone National Park. So people like to go there to go to West Yellowstone. Good VRBO community. Actually, I just put a house. This will be my second house. There's an island. We were talking about it earlier offline over in Captiva. You got Sanibel Island in Florida, and then you got Captiva, and you got North Captiva, right? Mm-hmm. Well, North Captiva, you can only get to by a small little plane or a boat because a hurricane came through several, I don't even know, 25, 30 years ago. And basically it separated Captiva from North Captiva. So you can only get there by boat or airplane. Wow. Very secluded property, but there's beautiful houses on there. And it's where people like to go just to kind of get away. So the VRBO Airbnb is huge, right? I just put an offer. This will be my second house. I just put an offer on last week. The contract is accepted. Now we're just going through the inspections and all that on a piece of property. Actually, you guys can go Google it. It's called Captiva Beach Sunset on Captiva, Florida. Captiva Beach Sunset, I just put an offer on that property. I'm going to end up paying about $1.75 million for that property. But the income that I'm going to get out of that, I mean, I'm going to be able to go there and use it as well, but I'm going to rent it for 31 to 32 weeks a year. And then that 31 or 32 weeks, it's right now, it's kind of given about $270,000 a year of gross rental income. And then I have actually my oldest son, he actually works on the island and he manages properties over there. So he's going to, it's just a win-win thing. I mean, you know, I put in 1.7 million, 270,000 a year comes, and then I have that appreciating asset as well. Plus I have, if I want to use it for 18 to 20 weeks out of the year when it's not being rented, I can.
Awesome. And as far as kind of what is kind of like a typical amount to kind of get this started? I know, you know, you're buying in a policy. Question. Yeah. What's the, what can we start with?
It doesn't matter. You pick the number. I never tell you or any member client of ours how much to put in the policy. You can put in, I always tell people, it doesn't matter if you make $10 an hour or $10,000 an hour. Everybody needs to break the bonds of financial slavery they don't even realize they're in and start keeping control of their own money. So it's completely up to you. You can do $200 a month, $10,000 a year, $500 a quarter. You tell me the amount that you want to put into the policy, and that's the way we design it. So it's not about death benefit, even though the policy has a death benefit. But with these specific policies, Dwaine, it's all focused on cash value. So we're purposely trying to keep the death benefit at a lower number, okay? And it'll rise as time goes on. The cash and the death benefit rises as time goes on. Because if I ask you or 10 of your listeners, what's more important to you, cash or death benefit? The answer will always be cash. Even if you ask a 100-year-old man or woman what's more important to them today when they wake up, like what did they think about more when they wake up? Is it cash or death benefit? It's always cash. As long as I solve your need for finance and cash, you'll have more death benefit than you'll ever imagine.
And then this also can be passed on to heirs, of course, you know, your wife, your spouse, but also kids as well.
Absolutely. So you can have policies on children, grandchildren, future generations, right? So the policy, see, there's three things on a policy, Dwaine. There's the owner, the insured, and whoever the beneficiary is. Well, the owner is typically the one that pays for the policy. He or she who has the gold should be making the rules, right? So the owner and the beneficiary can change at any time and can change multiple times. The only thing that cannot change is the insured individual. When the insured individual passes, that death benefit dollar goes to the beneficiary tax-free, okay? So that gets paid out to the beneficiary when the insured passes. Now, the thing that we're doing is we're really taking a loan from our death benefit. That's what we're doing by using the cash value, because it's not an if you're going to die, it's a when you're going to die. Die, pass, graduate, whichever word you like. I like to use the word graduate instead of die. But at the time of your death, at all times in the policy, Dwaine, the death benefit will always be greater than the cash value or the loan available, which is a great thing because the insurance company can never lose because you're guaranteed to die. So at the time of your death, however much that death benefit is at that time, that will pay off any outstanding loan that you have on the policy, and the additional money goes to your beneficiary tax-free. Because, see, they already gave you that other money while you're living. So here's a quick example. Let's say the death benefit's $1 million. Let's say your cash value is $300,000 and you've got all $300,000 borrowed out of the policy. Today's your graduation day. Well, what happens is the $1 million pays off the $300,000 loan because they already gave you the $300,000. And now your beneficiaries get all the assets that $300,000 loan paid off, plus the additional $700,000 goes to them tax-free.
Wow, that's yeah. Like I said, if more people kind of knew about this, now my biggest question is why not a lot of people know about this, and what would be the next step?
Yeah. Well, the next step is to go to the website, themoneymultiplier.com, go to the resources, and then click on presentation. Watch my full presentation. And then what we'll do is we'll schedule a call. We'll schedule what I call a strategy call, right? I'll schedule a 45-minute strategy call. If we need more time, we'll schedule a second one. If we don't go 45 minutes, that's fine. We'll go through and get all your questions answered. I don't ask you to buy anything ever, ever, ever. I'm just going to answer your questions and give you the information. And hopefully after you see it and see how it works, you're going to say, man, I want to do this. I want to implement this in my life. Even if you tell me that, like now, Dwaine, like even if somebody said, I want to start right now today, you can't start today because I have to get you approved for the policy. It's going to be at least a month before you can start the policy, pay the premium, because the insurance company has to make sure you or whoever the insured individual is, we got to make sure they look as good on the inside as you do on the outside as far as health-wise. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to give a little blood. You're going to have to pee in a cup. You're going to have to answer some health questions, right? So again, there's plenty of time to go through, review, and get all your questions answered as we're in that approval process. And now when you watch the presentation that I have, one thing you're going to see on there is this thing that I call a money multiplier map, okay? And on that map, it basically is going to, the map is going to take all of your debts, all of your expenses that you have. It's going to take the premium amount the premium amount that you decide to put in the policy. Let's call it $500 a month or $1,000 a month, $10,000 a year, whatever number you decide. And what our team does, our mapping team, they actually design you your own money multiplier map with your debts and your expenses on it. Not only do we create you one map, Dwaine, we update that map for you 3 times a year, every 4 months, because wherever you're at today in your financial life is not where you were 1, 5, and 10 years ago, and it's not going to be where you're at 1, 5, and 10 years from now, because you're going to go through your financial life. You're going to buy things, sell things, windfalls, downfalls, raises, and demotions. So as it's changing, we're updating that map. Now, Dwaine, that is a service that we provide for the client. As I said earlier, you will never write me a check for a dime. You'll never write the Money Multiplier a check for a dime. I get paid one way only. I get paid from the insurance company a commission on the policy you start. The same way your car insurance guy gets paid. The same way John Smith, the Allstate man, gets paid. The check you write isn't to John Smith. You write it to Allstate, and Allstate pays John Smith a commission.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll make sure to include all of that information in the show notes so everyone can kind of at least get more information. I think just, introductory call. I know this was very high level information, and some of the stuff probably is going to cause other questions, on the technical side and things like that that you can be able to help them with. But let's move on to our next section, where I always ask all our guests so they can kind of get to know you a little bit better. I know you're down in Florida. You like to fly planes. You like to do stuff. You just bought a nice Airbnb property. Take us through a typical work day. And then do you have any special morning routines?
You know what? Yeah, I do have a morning routine. The first thing I do, and if I forget, my dog lets me know, is I do about an hour walk with my dog. Right? I have a dog. Her name is Piper, which is like my plane. I have a Piper airplane, which is a turbine, a Piper Meridian, which I also bought with my policy as well. But yeah, I take my dog for a walk. She's a mixture between a Bernese Mountain Dog and a Poodle. So it's a Bernedoodle, an 83-pound dog. I had to buy a pressurized airplane so I could take her on trips across the country to Idaho, right? So our dog is kind of like our kid now, since the kids have moved out of the house and, we became empty nesters. But yeah, I mean, I get up and I start my day that way. And, hopefully I get some exercise in. I should be doing it more than what I do. So I'll go on a bicycle ride, typically a few days a week. And again, like I said, I live in an airplane community. So we have taxiways and runways and all kind of houses, right? So we live in a great community for that. So I'll do a bicycle ride, and then I go to my calendar. People schedule on my calendar, and then I block out the times that I'm going to take calls for that day. And I mean, yeah, Dwaine, all day, basically, I eat, breathe, and live this stuff that I'm talking to you about, whether I'm just doing a podcast with you, or I'm doing a training, a virtual seminar, or a webinar online. If I'm going to a live event and I'm speaking at a live event, or I'm doing those calls, those strategy calls, 45-minute strategy calls. So that's my typical day. And, I usually have a couple late days, and I usually try not to do it on weekends, but I do it on weekends. A lot of my events that I do are on weekends, and yeah, that's what it is. And for fun, I like to fly. We do a lot of boating. We go to do wave running and go to the other coast of Florida and go out on the boat, or like find a restaurant on a beach or at the Lake of the Ozarks. There's like restaurants on the lake, and we like to ride the toys, the wave runners, the water skiing, and all of that, and also flying as well. So, and then also my wife and I, at least once a week, normally, we go to the thing we do is, like in the morning, the thing we do is we get up, we take the dog for a walk, and we go to the beach. We do a beach walk on Daytona Beach, or whatever beach we may be on. Or if we're up at the snow in Idaho, we'll do a snow walk, right? Sometimes take the dog and sometimes not. And if we're down in Florida, we go to our favorite bagel restaurant and get a good bagel with some good house cream cheese.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good to hear. Awesome. And
I like to eat, Dwaine. I will tell you that I am a professional eater.
Well,
not many people can like educate me on eating. I'm pretty good at that.
Well, at least you got your dog so that she can, keep you in shape, because doing all that eating, you're gonna need a little bit of walking here and there, so to keep you up to speed. And as far as kind of like, I know you have your team, and you communicate with a lot of clients. You're doing a lot of different events. You using any tools or resources to help you kind of manage your day a little bit better?
So the guy that wrote the book with me, Chris Noggle, he's very into the techie stuff, right? And also my assistant, which is my daughter, her name is Hannah. So she's very up to speed on all the techie stuff, right? So we do some stuff on Facebook and Google stuff, and they can explain to you more. I mean, I know how to get on and check my email. Like even before the podcast, I had to have her set me up, and I just show up and run my mouth, right? But so yeah, so we're doing more and more. We got so like our SEO guy that kind of brings us up to the top when you Google things. Like, for example, if you Google a word called like uninterrupted compound interest, that brings us onto the top. So, we got the SEO guy bringing our search engine up higher. But quite honestly, practically all of my business, 90% plus of my business, you tell me what to do.
Okay, we're back.
Are we back now? Okay.
Yep.
I don't
Yes,
know
little
where
hiccup.
it left off at.
Yeah, so the last word you said 90% of your business is.
Oh, yep. So like 90% of my business is word of mouth and referrals, friends, family members, coworkers, colleagues, or people coming back for additional policies. But yeah, we use different, social media platforms. I don't think Hannah so are we doing any specific advertising or marketing for what we do? I mean, again, so there's a lot of events that we do, whether it's virtual, and then people come to us from those, right? Because somebody will hear us and then they'll say, hey, that was great information. Can you come and speak to my group, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then someone will say, hey, can you come and speak to my group?
Mm-hmm.
So all the time, so like we're getting invited to speak on this topic around the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an important topic. It works so much tremendously for you, bringing you out of $984,000 in debt and able to buy all these cash flowing assets and vacation homes and just utilize it to its maximum potential, just like how the Rockefellers and all the other super rich, ultra rich families did in the past. So I really, people just got to encourage and get more information and kind of take the next step. And then finally, I always ask my guests, and like I said, you have, great family, great story, a lot of things going on for you. What can you say that you're most grateful for?
Oh, I mean, I'm grateful to be able to help and serve others, right? Which that's what I am most grateful for. That is my driving passion, is just being able to serve people with this powerful message. The late Zig Ziglar said this, and I truly believe this. If you help enough others get what they want, you end up getting what you want. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the reason, I decided to sell my chiropractic practice because anyway, the information that I teach is not being taught out there. Very few people are teaching this information. We need more people teaching this concept. And, I told my wife, I said, honey, I know I went to chiropractic school. I spent a lot of time, money, and energy in building that. But my passion is this. We need to share this with people. We need to get this message out. And that's my purpose, Dwaine, getting up every day to try to deliver this message to as many people as possible. And the thing that I'm probably most proud of is, I love helping anybody, but right. So I could be talking to someone that's like say 75 years old and they're single and have no family. I mean, I'm going to help them just like I would help anyone else. But what's really cool is when you see the families that are coming together and incorporating this concept in their life. So like I have like the patriarchs and the matriarchs of the family that not only want this knowledge for themselves, but their children, their grandchildren, their future generations, right? Because the thing we really got to do, Dwaine, which is something we don't do enough, I truly believe, in our family, we have to start talking about money and wealth more. Most families do not talk about it. No matter how good you're doing or how bad you're doing, they don't talk about wealth. We got to start getting around the kitchen table and talking about wealth and money. I mean, right? So just think about it. All right. So, all right. I want you to think of your last 3 Christmases, Thanksgiving, your Easter time that you get together with family. Are you guys really talking about money? No, you're talking about who's sick, who's healthy, who's going to the doctor, what's going on in politics. You're really not talking about money and wealth. And so whenever we bring that message home and we get around the table and talk about money and wealth and keeping that money in the family, it's a game changer, because the better that you do financially, the more people that you're going to be able to help and serve. Are there any poor people that adding wings on any churches? Neither do I. I don't know of them either, right? So the knowledge that we gain, we have to serve as many of God's children as possible, and we have to spread that message. That's my belief.
Very well said. That's very nice to cap that off for the interview. I really appreciate you sharing that. And then finally, can I repeat again how do we get in contact with you, your website, and any other information you want to share with us?
Right. So let me give you again, the website is themoneymultiplier.com. You can text me. I'm going to give you my text number. I do a lot of texting. My texting number is area code 785-248-9637. That's my texting number. And if you want to send me an email, it's just my first name, Brent, B-R-E-N-T, at themoneymultiplier.com. And so the one thing I'd like to do, Dwaine, for your listeners is, anyway, the book that I wrote, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. If you text me or email me, I will send you the e-version of this book. I'll send you the e-version of the book. I'll send it to you in an email. And if you want the actual copy itself, all you do is you pay for the postage. And I don't know, Hannah, what is postage to mail this? About $3. So if you want to pay for the postage, I'll mail you the book. But again, not that you need the copy. I mean, so the e-version is the same thing. Mm-hmm. But I will send that to all of your listeners that, send me a text or an email.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. That's a great offer. I encourage everyone to take it up. Let's get more information. Like you had mentioned, we need to start passing on this information so everybody else can able to rise up, utilizing these strategies that been around for 200 years, and all of the super wealthy families been doing it. Just see the writing on the wall. Brent, thank you so much for joining us on the show. I really appreciate you sharing it. Continued success to you and your business, and best to you and your family, and look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Absolutely, Dwaine. Thanks for having me on, and I appreciate you taking the time and having me and listening, and I'm here to serve you and all your listeners. So thanks, Dwaine.
Thank you so much. Take care, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey there, this is Dwaine Clarke, your host of the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing Show. I want to thank you again for tuning in and hope you're enjoying this valuable content. While I got you for a quick minute, I wanted to send you an invitation to join our growing investor community. It's called the Passive Investors Club. It's a group of like-minded individuals like you who are seeking financial freedom and to build true wealth through passive investing in commercial real estate. We take a totally different approach to investing that is opposite, that is pushed by the financial advisors and what we see in the mainstream media. We like to invest in real assets that we can touch and understand and that are not subject to the wild swings of the financial markets. We don't want to be part of the herd who pursues the traditional route, leaving our financial future to Wall Street. So if you're interested in joining our group and to sharing resources and opportunities, then go to passiveinvestorsclub.com/join. Joining the club is completely free and there's no obligation. And all our members receive our free Passive Investors course along with tons of resources and content. So again, passiveinvestorsclub.com/join.